Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And with the recent news of the Velos being announced as one of the ships in the next update, and with patch notes, of course, coming this week, we've decided to postpone Japanese week until following update week. So in about 2 weeks here, you guys will get some awesome Japanese week content. But in the meantime, I wanted to do a top 5 of ships that I want to see come to World of Warships Legends. I got a few comments on yesterday's video, and I know that some people are not the most excited about a destroyer campaign. And to be quite honest, I'm not, gripping the edge of my seat here. However, I am, excited to play this ship. It's just not top on my list. However, we are going to give you guys a top 5 ships that I want to see come to the game, starting with number 5 right here, the Thunderer. Now, I know the Thunderer, where is she? The Thunderer is on a list of ships that Wargaming is said is going to be, they are very cautious of adding this ship because she is an absolute insane beast on the PC version. Now, this, of course, is from the World of Warships Legends wiki. We access this website all the time. And the first website I was on actually was the World of Warships Legends official wiki, which was done by a group of community members, and it is a fantastic resource, as we've mentioned so many times. So make sure you guys give that website a view there. I will link it in the description down below. But the Thunderer here has 457 millimeter guns with a 26-second reload. It does only have 8 of them, but you combine that with some British HE, and you could, this is basically napalm in a can here. So she is just a very strong ship. There was some, I believe there's a few nerfs given to her on PC here, but let's read a little bit of each ship. Thunder exists as the sister ship of the Tier 10 UK battleship, the Conqueror. As such, she shares many of Conqueror's in-game performance characteristics and weaknesses. Despite the similarities, Thunder possesses certain distinguishable traits that differentiate her. So we'll just quickly read the pros and cons here. Large main battery gun caliber, 457s, allows AP shells to overmatch 30 millimeters of armor. HE shell hit hard and have the greatest fire chance, 66%, with signals and commander skills in the game. I doubt it would ever transfer over to Legends, but you will basically be on fire for a majority of the time. Excellent main battery reload time, great main battery accuracy with battle cruiser dispersion. It rivals Yamato's, which I think ours has been nerfed a little bit. Excellent rudder shift, great concealment, decent mid-range AA, has access to defensive AA fire, great firing angles, and enhanced repair party. So think of a zombie heel Nelson with 457s and, of course, a different layout there at legendary tier. Now, again, Wargaming has made it very clear that this ship, if it ever comes, is going to be, just on a watch list, essentially, of they have to do this ship right because she is so strong, and, leave it to Wargaming to release a ship and then nerf it. Now, I think that is probably, it's better for them to release it not so strong and then potentially buff it. However, why does it take so long for them to buff ships? Now, moving on to number 2, we have, where is she? Did I miss her? I think she's in the first list here, yes. The Harugo, the Japanese Tier 10 buzzsaw of a gunboat. This is a further development of the Akazuki class destroyer. This ship features large dimensions and 10 dual-purpose 100 millimeter guns. Now, of course, the 100 millimeter does not pen a lot of armor, even with your HE. However, you catch other destroyers broadside with that AP, battleship's superstructure, and you are doing 2,000 and 3,000 damage every 3 seconds there. And of course, with our commander perks and reload, and legendary mod, I'm sure we could get that down even further. On top of that, she does possess, I believe, a launcher of 6 Japanese torpedoes, which do 23,000 damage. And of course, that would, be coupled with a reload booster, so you could potentially be flooding. You're basically, almost a Shimakaze without quite the torpedo reload, and I'm pretty sure the range is reduced. What's your range on these? Yeah, 12 kilometers. So yeah, even a Shimakaze with that reload booster there, and some insanely deadly guns. The Harugo sits atop the IJN gunboat branch of destroyers, encapsulating and building upon the design elements and gameplay of the ships preceding her. Now, of course, all of my picks here are going to be at legendary tier because I think Wargaming does a terrible job of getting legendary ships, the highest tier to us, which is just, we said it in our bureau video. The bureau is the worst thing that this game has done. It's a great idea until you just think about, like, all of these ships should be in the game. You should just be able to grind to them. But instead, we have the bureau, and anyway, this is not that video. So if you want to hear me rant about that, go watch my bureau video, which does give you some tips and tricks on how to progress the bureau faster. But anyway, the pros of the Harugo here are a large health pool, 25,600, can go up to 29,000 with the survivability experts, so our commander builds, I believe. Highest damage output potential of all tier 10 destroyers. Powerful torpedo armament, excellent HE shell armor penetration. I don't know if she gets improved pen. If it's 1/5 pen, you can pen up to 20 millimeters of armor there. Does it say? So with the IFHE, you can pen up to 37 millimeters, but does it say in here? I don't know. Somebody's going to tell me. In the meantime, though, I also want to know your guys' top 5 picks or top picks of ships you want to see come into the game. Now, my picks are all legendary or tier 10 because that's just what I enjoy. I enjoy the higher classes of ships. However, I have been having a lot of fun kind of going down a few classes. But let's finish up these pros here. Low caliber AP shells allow for high effectiveness against broadside destroyers, exactly what we said. Torpedo reload booster consumable, that's a mouthful there, allows her to put 12 fish in the water every few minutes. So this ship, again, you get caught with this thing in, in any destroyer without defensive capabilities, and you go broadside and you're basically dead or missing all of your health. Coming in at number 3 here is a ship that we sort of already have in the game. My pick for number 3 is going to be the Moskva. Now, of course, she is very similar to our Petropavlovsk, and the Petropavlovsk on PC is a tier 10, where ours is a tier 8. She's not quite as accurate as she is on PC, and that's kind of the reason I want the Moskva in the game. I want a Stalingrad with 220 millimeter guns and a 10.3 reload, which I'm sure I could get down to about 8 seconds. That would be so disgusting in our game. A 65,000 HP pool is kind of a lot for a cruiser, and I just think that this ship would be a lot of fun. Now, of course, we already have the Stalingrad. We already have the Petro. There are similar ships like this to the game, so if you're thinking of other ships that we could add in this slot, a 3B would be the Alexander Nevsky, which is the Russian light cruiser, or the Smolensk, which would just be, I know the battleship mains would probably quit. But anyway, here on the Moskva, extremely large hit point pool compared to a tier 8 battleship, one of the longest gun ranges among all cruisers, high top speed of 34.5 knots, outstanding shell velocity, good accuracy, and flat arcs, so very easy to aim, powerful AP shells with excellent penetration, enough to citadel battleships at mid-range. Now, of course, this is always going to lead to overpens, especially in our game. I don't know why it feels like in Legends that you always, even like especially cruisers, you just get overpens instead of citadels. But anyway, good AA suite with the option of defensive AA fire, thick armor for a cruiser, very durable when properly angled, has access to surveillance radar, and fires last standard cruiser duration, not the large cruiser duration, which is important to note for the Stalingrad. I believe you get the 45-second fires. I don't know if that's been changed. I'm pretty sure that's still how it is. But her cons are enormous ship with abysmal concealment, very large turning radius, poorly armored turrets, doesn't have any torpedo armament, which is not really a con. AA suites, susceptible to HE hit. Like, I love how you can always tell when a ship is potentially very Russian biased by wargaming, because any AA suite is susceptible to HE hits. Now, some are more susceptible to others, but that is like, these are applicable to any cruisers without torpedoes. Like, that's not a, that's just a fact. That's not really a con. But very large and exposed citadel, now that is a massive con. You do not want to go broadside in these things. I love shooting at broadside Stalingrads. Exposed citadel, huge size, poor concealment, and a large turn radius make disengaging a challenge, which is why it is always a good idea to put yourself in that defensive kiting position. Coming in at number 2, sticking with the theme of the Russians here, is of course a ship that should have been in the game. I don't know why it's still not in the game. The Kremlin, the USSR Kremlin here, the Primo Russian battleship. 9 457 millimeter guns with a 33-second reload, very flat Russian arcs. This thing is the Sovietsky Soyuz on steroids, the Vladivostok on steroids. The Vlad is a ship, and we do need to do Russian Week here in the coming months, but that ship used to be really strong, and now it's not. Now, of course, with carriers and just how the game is evolving, these ships, which were once I feel like on PC you'd see 3 Kremlins every other game, but with the HE spam and carriers now, these ships with their limited damage control parties are very vulnerable to, of course, fires, etc. But when pushed in with proper team support, as we've showed so many times in my recent video with Azure Lane Savetsky Razia, or whatever the commander's name was, these ships can just dominate a flank. But pros here: highest hit point pool in the game, well-armored, short damage control party cooldown, extremely good dispersion at close to medium ranges, quick turret traverse, and good firing angles. She has 457mm guns, which we talked about, overmatches 30mm of plating. AA suites rival that of some high-tier light cruisers if spec'd properly. Good concealment, well-protected main battery turrets, massive AP alpha strike, good torpedo damage reduction, and excellent rudder shift. Now that, on paper, at least those pros, sound like the absolute best battleship in the game. Cons, however: short main battery firing range, long reload. While Kremlin carries a respectable AA suite, it is extremely easy to disable with HE. Again, I don't know why that is like a con, but yeah, several HE salvos can almost completely destroy all of her auxiliary guns, rendering her helpless against carrier strikes. Massive size. Despite having a 60mm belt running the length of the bow, she lacks the full 60mm of bow on the Grosser Kurfürst, which means that she can and will take penetrating hits from Yamato, Musashi, Shikishima. So again, what other battleship this is applicable to every other battleship. So anyway, large turning circle. Despite good armor, she has a large citadel, possible to run out of. That's what we mentioned, right? That is the balancing factor of these ships. You have to, smartly use these damage control parties. Her size makes turning slow, and I mean, again, that is the hardest part about being a battleship main, and this is why you see so many useless battleship players simply bow tanking at the back of the map, is because positioning is tough, right? You have to get to a spot where you could potentially use all of your guns without showing too much of your cheek or side, without getting flanked, right? And this is where a lot of other battleship mains complain about other players, because notably, if you abandon your flank, this is your fault. But getting this ship into the right spot is not going to be easy for a lot of players. They think that just sitting there in their Iowa, not moving any, but 2 squares is the correct way to play. But vulnerable to torpedo strikes due to her massive size. Again, some of these cons are just funny. They try to make up stuff. But anyway, guys, that is a ship that all of us know should be in the game, and another ship that all of us know should be in the game, and I honestly hope it's coming. I have yet to get the patch notes, is the Hindenburg. The German, just absolute beast of a heavy cruiser, and one that, again, should have been in the game such a long time ago. The Primo, I want to play the ship so bad. We need to go back to playing the Rune here, but 12 203mm guns with a 9.8 reload. With Augustin Riegerwald there, I'm sure the AP salvos, we could probably get 30k AP salvos from this ship with Riegerwald and Arthas there. I cannot wait for the absolute memes that this ship is going to allow us to do. Hit points are a little bit lower there. 50,000 is decent, but you will get chunked. Torpedo tubes, standard German, but I believe you get 8 of them. Yeah, or 16 rather, 8 on each side. No, that's the secondaries. Yeah, 16 still, 8 on each side, 4x4 in 2 separate launchers of 4 there, which generally get destroyed pretty easily, but regardless, you are a threat to every ship with the exception of potential, long-range destroyers because of your sonar. You can still get destroyers up close, but you are a threat to every ship. AP is good. HE is good. You have a decent reload. You have torpedoes. You have good health with a turtleback armor. Now, of course, that turtleback gets eaten up at mid-ranges, and it's not as protected as other ships, but this ship is... I don't know why it's not in the game. It bugs me that this ship is still not in the game. Anyway, ranting and raving here for this long video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. Again, let me know your guys' top 3 picks, top 5 picks, a few ships that you want to come to the game for World of Warships Legends. It doesn't have to be at high tiers. Like I said, I enjoy high tiers. But anyway, the pros and cons: fast reloading, 203mm guns, not as fast as Des Moines, but with better base range and shell arcs, so good velocity. Excellent shell velocity and low gun arcs, which they just said, makes hitting distant targets easier. Good range for her main battery, one of the highest damage cruiser AP shells in the game. Again, with 12 of them going, what's their max damage here? Yeah, no, that's HE. 5,900. So now, of course, you're never going to get 12 citadels, but 2 or 3 citadels is 15,000 damage plus penetration damage. Oh, this ship. I cannot wait to get this ship in the game. I really hope I get surprised tomorrow and the Hindenburg is in the patch notes, but usually they would have teased it by now. Anyway, armor scheme is deceptively sturdy, like we talked about. She's hard to citadel with her turtleback at short range. Pushing in, though, is going to be a problem. Decent torpedoes and the best hydroacoustic search in the game. Historically has managed to stay fairly consistent despite changes in the mechanics of the game. So this is one of those where this ship has lost her luster on PC because of all of the essentially bullshit they've added in terms of subs and just super carriers. However, this ship is still, you'll still see it in King of the Sea. The Fleet and Ocean Cups, if they ever make it legendary tier, you will absolutely see this ship. Now, of course, she does lack radar, which we mentioned, but just she's a jack of all trades and a master of none in terms of just damage output, armor, hydroacoustic, and torpedoes, as we've mentioned about 3 times now. Cons: high explosive shell is lower than all their tier. You're still getting a good. German quarter pen is still going to absolutely decimate most targets. Sluggish maneuverability. Large size, large detection radius, prone to citadel penetrations at long range and medium range, if not angled properly, and has to expose quite a bit of her broadside to bring all guns to bear. So it is not a complete brain-dead ship. I know this game is battleship focused, and a lot of battleship mains are just like, well, the HE spam, and a lot of those complaints are not really valid when considering that you have to be somewhat of a decent cruiser player in order to get ships like this to work. I need to go back and visit the Rune. This is basically the Rune with an extra turret, of course, easily put. But that ship she was quite underrated when she was first released at tier 8, but I have had a lot of fun in that ship. But anyway, guys, that is my top 5 video. Ships that I want to see come to the game, as I've mentioned 3 or 4 times now. You guys let me know what you guys think of that list and what ships you guys would like to see to come to the game. Anyway, guys, that's the video. A little bit of a longer one there. Have a great day. I'm out. Peace.